guys, and today we're talking about the Articles of Confederation in Social Studies. The Articles of Confederation were put in place after the Second Continental Congress wrote the Declaration of Independence. Remember, the Declaration of Independence was when we said, as a country, we're going to be our own country, we're not going to listen to Britain anymore. That's what started the American Revolution. But after the Second Continental Congress, these representatives started working on a plan for a new government because they said, we don't want to be part of Britain, we're going to be our own country, but they weren't quite sure what that meant yet. So they started writing a plan. This plan became called the Articles of Confederation. So this is the plan that they were going to lead the country with. It was a partnership, like a friendship, between 13 states. If you watch Star Trek and you heard about the Confederation of Planets, kind of the same thing there. It's a confederation of the states and the colonies in North America. So it was a partnership between those 13 original states and colonies. It only created Congress, the legislative branch. Remember, in government we have 3 branches of government now. This only made the very first branch, the Congress, which makes the laws, the legislative branch. All 13 states ratified the Articles of Confederation in 1781. The states wanted to avoid a strong central government, so Congress could not require taxes. Now remember, one of the major reasons that the colonists had revolted from England and had the American Revolution to start with was because they felt like they were being taxed without being represented in Parliament. They didn't want a strong central body that was going to say, give us all your money and give it to us now. They just got away from that. So they wanted their freedom, they wanted their independence. They didn't want a strong central body telling them what to do. So at this time, Congress could not require taxes. Now we know that today Congress gives money to lots of groups and things that we need from our tax dollars. We have roads fixed, we have schools started, lots of things that happen in our daily lives are based on taxes collected from Congress and the government. So at the time when they couldn't require taxes, they didn't have that money, they couldn't help out the states because they had no income, no money coming in. Some things that the Articles of Confederation did not set up were courts. There was no judicial branch, there was no court, there was no one to see if the laws Congress were making were constitutional. Were these things that the general population would agree with? And there was no president. The Articles of Confederation had no president. All the Articles of Confederation did was to say, these 13 states are going to work together as one. We're going to have a Congress that makes the laws. And Congress cannot require taxes. Now they can ask the states to send them money and say, hey guys, we need money for this. But they can't say, hey, you have to send us money. And there's a big difference there. And since we're already talking about taxes and money, we're going to talk a little bit more. Money, money, money. The colonists were in debt from the American Revolution. Just like we heard before that the British were in debt after the French and Indian War, they had to spend money on soldiers and troops and supplies. Well, now the colonies were in debt because of the American Revolution. And they were in debt to other countries. They had loaned them money they needed to pay them back. Congress could not demand taxes to pay this money back. Each state had its own currency. So, like if you visited Canada, they have a different money system than we do. Things cost differently based on our money system there. If you go to Mexico, they have pesos. It costs differently in American dollars. You have to translate it and figure out, well, if your money's worth this much and my money's worth this much, then I guess you owe me this much more, or you owe me this much less than the price. And it gets really confusing really fast. So each state had its own currency. It would make travel between states very difficult, and any dealings with people from other countries would be really difficult because they had no idea what American money was worth, because in different colonies it was worth different things. So Congress made continentals. Colonies, continentals, got it? These were printed by Congress. It was supposed to solve the problem of different money currencies in different states. However, they became worthless because of inflation. Now, inflation is a pretty big word that we haven't talked too much about before, But all it means is your prices are going up, so the value of your money goes down. Instead of $1 buying you 2 pieces of candy, now the dollar only buys you 1 piece of candy. And if inflation goes up enough, the dollar won't buy you any candy at all. You'll need $3 for a piece of candy. So inflation makes your prices are going up, but what you can buy with that $1 is going down and down and down. This graph is also in your book. It talks about the effect of inflation from the year 1775 to 1779. It talks about a cost of a bushel of potatoes, and it goes from $1 to $8 here. So in 1775, a bushel of potatoes wasn't even $1. I would have been very happy since I love my potatoes. Then in 1776, it was almost $1. 1777, it's about $1. Oh, we get a little bit further. Prices keep climbing, right? 1778, it's up to $2. Man, we went from not even $1 to $2 in only 1, 2, 3 years. Now watch what happens over that 4th year, though. The price of potatoes in that 1 year alone goes up to $7. It goes up $6 because of inflation. That means each individual dollar that the colonists had could buy less. So maybe they had more money, but it was worth less. And everything that they needed to buy now cost more. Now, the colonists weren't just facing money problems. Money was a big problem. They had lots of money worries, but they also had no national army. So if someone had offended them or someone had threatened them, they wouldn't have had a way to protect themselves. They could have said, hey, Virginia, could you spare some guys from your militia? Hey, New York, could you send some guys down? Anybody, somebody, please help us? But they didn't have the right to say, okay, guys, we all need this many troops, send them in right now. There was no centralized government body for that. They had no national army to defend themselves. They could not even enforce their own trade laws. So Congress was there, it was setting up laws, but there wasn't anyone really to enforce it. Our trade laws with other countries we could not enforce. And other countries didn't take us seriously. Well, why would they? Our money was basically worthless. We had no army to back up our bark, right? And we couldn't even enforce our own laws. Who in their right mind would take us seriously? So these are some of the problems that were facing the country. Because of this, nationalists started pushing for a stronger national government. They said, hey guys, we're a joke. It's great that we're free from Britain and all, but we need someone to be in charge. We need to have a strong front and kind of help deal with all these little issues. We need someone to take care of the money and inflation. We need a national army. We need to be able to enforce our own laws, and we need to make other countries know that we are serious and we are a country and we are not going to fizzle out and go crying back to England. So while all this was going on, and Congress couldn't collect taxes to pay back its debts, states could collect taxes, and they collected a lot of taxes on land. The colonists and farmers were paying taxes on land. And they didn't just have little houses on the land, remember? We didn't have like the grocery store to go to. They had big farms. They were paying lots of money on taxes. And as inflation went up, they just wanted more and more money for taxes. And the farmers couldn't pay. If you couldn't pay your taxes, you were sent to prison. Kind of severe for somebody who's trying hard to follow the rules, right? People didn't like this because states kept raising the taxes. Every time they could scrape together enough to pay the taxes, they'd come and ask for more. People were upset. They couldn't pay the taxes. They didn't want to go to prison. So the colonists revolted. One of these demonstrations of revolution was Shays' Rebellion. Daniel Shays had been a soldier in the American Revolution. He led people to close courts that sent farmers to prison. In September 1786, Shays led 700 men to close the highest court. In January of 1787, Shays led an attack on a National Weapons Depot. National Weapons Depot, that's where all the weapons for the entire nation were kept, and they went to raid it and take the weapons. That's some serious issues. That's how upset the people were at the states raising taxes. The rebellion was unsuccessful, but it made others seek stronger national government. Remember, the nationalists are pushing for a stronger national government that can help unite everyone and make everyone one and make everything a little more fair. Finally, we're going to talk about some new states that had been created. The Treaty of Paris ended the American Revolution, and it gave all the land from the Appalachian Mountains. Remember, the Appalachians kind of go through Georgia, North and South Carolina today, to the Mississippi River, north of the Ohio River, to the United States. This region was called the Northwest Territory. Today we think of this more as the Midwest. It's Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, those states kind of up north in the Midwest near the Great Lakes. But at the time it was called the Northwest Territory. And in order to help separate this land and help govern the land, some ordinances were set up. The Land Ordinance of 1785 said how this land would be divided. It provided for public schools in the Northwest Territory, so students could go to school if they lived there. Then, the Land Ordinance of 1787, 2 years later, said a territory could ask to become a state when it had a population of 60,000 free adult men and a written constitution. So women were not counted in the population vote, and they must have a constitution. It also made slavery illegal in the Northwest Territory and guaranteed religious freedom for those people in the Northwest Territory. And that's all we have for the Articles of Confederation today. I'll talk to you next time.